Spurs to the Wizards, who actually just won a game, 127 to 106, a big time win. Champ, I'm gonna let you go first on your thoughts on tonight.
Oh, I said it last week. I said it's finally going to happen. The 22-game losing streak in San Antonio was going to happen, and sure enough, they started off the week and went on a winning streak after a very tough loss to the Warriors last week, and they decided enough was enough. We're tired of this crap, and it's time for a change, and they went and did that, and then they came into tonight, and they absolutely dominated the San Antonio Spurs. Dominated the Spurs, did so well. Denny Abdia having a career night, was one rebound shy of a double-double, and absolutely played his heart. They played their hearts out with 7 players in double figures. They knew what they needed to do, and they went and they did it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I'm going to go to you next, Tim. What are your thoughts on tonight's big win?
I think a lot of people are really upset about the Rui trade, but the Wizards roster probably is benefiting from getting rid of the logjam at power forward, and Denny has really become a double-double machine. So I think he's getting comfortable. He doesn't feel the pressure to make the most of his minutes as much, so he's playing a lot better. And I think the Wizards now we can finally see their big three, hopefully healthy and playing. This was one of the few games that they were all together and they won. So they're now back in the 9th seed, I think. And who knows? I guess they decided not to tank after all.
Right. We did talk about that last week, that this was going to be an interesting week to see for the Wizards. And I'm not sure any of us had a sweeping this week, though. It was, we were hoping there was, 2 of these well, one's a back-to-back directly. We'll talk about that one, the Dallas one going into the Rockets, but then we have a Saturday and then a day off and then a game today. But the Pelicans have been one of the top teams over the last couple of weeks, so that was going to be a tough matchup as well. But let's start back with the Mavericks game. We thought that this could be a tone setter, but Dallas has been really good as of late. Wizards started up 32 to 28 in the first quarter, and then in the second quarter, they outscored them 33 to 32. Dallas came back a bit in the third. They were able to put up 37 points to the Wizards 34, and they were able to outscore them in the fourth, just barely 29 to 28 for a 127-126 victory. It was a very, very close match, especially down the stretch. Kuzma went off for 30 points. Bradley Beal had 22. It was a great night for Denny. He had a double-double, but just overall, it was just a really a great game for the Wizards. I'm going to start off with Tim. What were your thoughts on this important win over Dallas?
This kind of got a lot of the momentum started. I thought the Wizards without Porzingis would likely lose this game. Luka played well, but just Beal and Kuzma played well, and the Wizards were able to get the win. The thing that stands out to me about this game, besides obviously getting a tough road win, is Dinwiddie made some really disparaging comments about the Wizards franchise after the game because he was mad that they lost this close game. But he basically just said the Wizards, people just try to get their stats and showcase their game, but it's not about winning. It's not about the team. But I don't know. He just seems bitter because he did take a pretty big deal from the Wizards and then only played for half a year. So anyway, good win. And this is a playoff team. So this was the most impressive win of the week, I think.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Champ, what are your thoughts on this one?
First and foremost, Spencer Dinwiddie can kiss my grits and shut the hell up. That's my number. That's number one. Number two, this was the game that I was most worried about in this past week stretch because of how good the Mavericks can be. And the fact that they were able to go toe-to-toe with the Mavs on their home court and beat them, but albeit by one, but still beat them, was very, very gratifying. It was great to see two of the big three be able to carry the load with 52 points combined between the two of them, with Denny having a good game, and Wright also having a pretty decent game off the bench with 10 points in 21 minutes. Daniel Gafford ended up fouling out of this game with only 9 points and 7 rebounds. So he didn't have much of a contribution, but it still was enough for this team to be able to go on and beat a very, very tough Dallas Mavericks team to continue the winning streak that they started earlier on. So good on the Wizards. This was a big one, and they needed it badly.
Yeah, for sure. I was really impressed by this victory. It was a great game to watch. I really enjoyed this one a lot, actually. And I thought just some real grit down the stretch, because it was definitely not an easy game by any means. I mean, that team fought tooth and nail to try to get back in it. Arun, what are some of your thoughts on this one?
The Wizards just don't lose to Spencer Dinwiddie, apparently, since he's been traded. In 2 of those 3 games, they didn't have Bradley Beal, and in 2 of the 3 games, they didn't have Kristaps Porzingis, who was the guy who was traded. In the last game, Porzingis and Beal didn't play, and this one, Beal played, and he had like a key turnover down the stretch, but he also had a step back 3. DeLon Wright with the key steal, though. I think Luka Doncic wanted Dinwiddie to get the ball so he could bury the game winner, but Wright read it all the way. He picked it off and threw the ball up in the air and attempted a half-court shot to let the clock expire. And the Wizards just, I thought this game was more winnable than the Pelicans game, just because the Wizards just come out to play against Spencer Dinwiddie. Tim alluded to the comments that he made after the game that the Wizards don't play winning basketball. And then Kuzma tweeted back that Dinwiddie was a clown. He said the Mavericks don't play winning basketball either. And it's like alluding to the comment he made earlier in the season. It was just Luka Doncic, who's like the only good player on the team right now, especially with Jalen Brunson gone. And Luka had 41 points. There wasn't much the Wizards could really do about it, because he just draws a lot of fouls, and no matter what they do. But it was just a good win for the Wizards. And Bertans, he hit a 3 from like 30 feet, but then I think was pretty quiet from 3-point range the rest of the game. Overall, good win, good effort by Beal, Denny, and Kuzma.
Yes, I'm happy that people from the True No Spots podcast are finding their way over in chat to Sports on the Hill podcast. So welcome in. I was just so happy overall with this game. I don't know. It was definitely one of my favorite games to watch. This one and the Penguins game for the Capitals. I think were 2 of my favorite games this week to watch for sure. I was hoping that we would win that game and it would be able to gain momentum into the Rockets game. Houston came out strong in the first quarter, outscored us 30-25, and outscored us 28-18 in the second quarter. But a really big third quarter, holding the Rockets to only 23 and scoring 28 for the Wizards. And then the fourth quarter is really where it all happened. They outscored them 37-22 for a 108-103 victory. Kuzma once again tops 30 2 nights in a row. It's hard to top 30 2 nights in a row in a back-to-back situation, but just having no quit. And I don't think their legs were quite right in the first half, and I thought that they were just going to kind of get run out of the court. But credit to the Wizards for coming back in the second half after I'm sure they were exhausted playing a really tough game against the Mavs the night before. We're going to start off with Champ. What are some of your thoughts on this game?
I only got one thing to say. Kuz! Kyle Kuzma was the man that brought this back. That man's 20 of his 33 points were scored in the fourth quarter. And one of the gripes I had about this Wizards team last season and the season before was that third quarter. Usually if the third quarter didn't go their way, they usually lost those games. But this time, Third quarter goes their way. They outscored them by 5, and then Kuzma turns it on in the fourth quarter, just going off. I watched this game, and Kuzma just could not be stopped, and he could barely be contained. And that is why the Wizards were able to pull out a victory against a very, very subpar Rockets team. Beal also did his thing with 17 points. Denny once again with a double-double. I mean, clearly Denny Abdi is starting to come into his own down this stretch with back-to-back double-doubles. Kendrick Nunn, the newest acquisition for the Wizards, proven to be a great acquisition, scoring 12 points off the bench. I mean, this was another very satisfying win for this Wizards team to keep this winning streak going and to give them much more momentum going into that game against the Pelicans. What a win.
Yeah, just absolutely crazy that he was able to score that much. And yeah, I'm just so happy that he's able to turn it on. And it's been interesting to see how this team has responded after this trade. There was kind of a log jam at that position, and I think if we wanted to have some money to sign Kuzma, unfortunately we had to get rid of Rui, and so far they've played pretty well afterwards. I'll go to Tim. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, this was a bit odd because usually in a back-to-back, what happens is the better team plays well in the first half and then kind of plays a bad second half and loses their legs. But the Wizards did the opposite. And I think part of the reason is they play a pretty deep rotation, and you have players like Kendrick Nunn and Goodwin that maybe they don't play a lot of minutes off the bench, but in important spots, you can trust them to play a lot of big minutes and rest your guys. And I think in the past couple of years, the Wizards probably would have lost a game like this because clearly Beal was off in terms of shooting. He's working himself back in, but to have Kuzma as your secondary scorer, that's great to give you a lift. And like you said, Robbie, with the trade, clearly the Wizards are playing better because they had an extra forward, but they might not be done with trades either way because they still need to figure out what to do with Kuzma and even people like Beal and Morris. So a couple of guys could be traded, and they could potentially make trades to improve the team, not just like dump salary for next year. So they're kind of in this weird point, but I feel like they're not done. I feel like there's going to be at least one more trade coming up.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Arun, what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, the Wizards started off slow, coming off a back-to-back, but their record actually improved to 6-3 on back-to-back games. Beal was kind of like, he looked really tired his first game from a back-to-back since coming off injury, and he's kind of taking it, I think, slowly because he didn't want to re-aggravate the injury. And Kuzma only, as Ken alluded to, picked it up in the fourth quarter. So it kind of looked like the Rockets may have had a chance to win, especially Sengun, who's picked at the number 16 pick right after Corey Kispert. He had triple-double. But Drew Gooden alluded to that the lineup that the Rockets put up in the beginning of the fourth quarter was pretty garbage, and he's wondering if the Rockets were actually trying to lose the game because they're one of the worst teams in the NBA. And then I think the Wizards just kind of grabbed momentum when Kuzma hit those shots. And Kendrick Nunn was pretty big in this game. He had a slam dunk, crossover, and he hit a three and played some decent defense. And I think the Rockets' lack of consistent outside shooting hurt them, and the Wizards were able to just kind of take over in the fourth quarter and beat probably the worst team in the NBA in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Let's get into the next matchup, which was what I thought was going to be maybe the toughest matchup of the whole thing. New Orleans have been playing some really good ball lately. The Wizards outscored them by 2 in the first, 32-30. Outscored them by 7 in the second. Held the Pelicans to only 20 points. And then in the third, outscored them 29 to 24. And then in the fourth quarter, the Pelicans came back a little bit. outscoring 29-25, but by that point they had taken a 113-103 win. And Daniel Gadford had himself a hell of a game in this one. I'm gonna go to Champ first. What are your thoughts?
Oh man, I mean Daniel Gafford double with a season high 21 points and 12 boards, and again another fantastic game for Denny. One board short of a third straight triple double, which is incredible. And again, you have so many players in double figures. Everybody contributed in the best way possible for this one against a very game Pelicans team. Bradley Beal started to shine in the fourth quarter, scoring 9 of his 16 in the fourth quarter. So I mean, it led to another victory, their fifth straight victory, and it would lead to the Pelicans falling to their seventh straight loss overall. And this was just a really good game for the Wizards all the way around. You can see the shooting was close to 50%. 3-point shooting is still very much low, but still was very effective as compared to the Pelicans. They had more free throw attempts than the Pelicans, but missed more than the Pelicans. But that didn't make much of a difference in the scheme of things. They were able to lead most of the game and be able to hold on to it and get that 10-point victory to continue what has been a great run for this team. And I mean, what else can you say? What a great win for the Wizards. And the road trip continues with them winning 4 in a row on the road.
This Pelicans team seems very streaky. I hadn't realized that they had lost that many before, but in December they won 5, lost 4, then they won 5, and now they had gone back and forth with some wins and losses. But as you said, they had lost a ton before our game, and I don't think I had realized a lot of them have been pretty close. So it's not like they've been like blown out every night, but a bad loss to Miami in there, but it's really interesting to see, the sort of the free fall. And then after our game, they lost really badly to Milwaukee, right? So it's just a rough time for Pelicans fans, I guess. But I was happy to catch them in this moment because earlier in the season, I would have thought this would be an L for sure with how they were playing. But Tim, what are some of your thoughts on this game?
The Wizards, I'm not going to say it's lucky, but they definitely benefited because Zion didn't play and Valanciunas got ejected because he flagrant fouled Taj Gibson. And Taj Gibson's great for pissing people off. That's like his superpower. He gets people ejected. He draws technicals. So it's kind of nice to have him on the team, but what I love besides Gafford dominating the small lineup is, Beal and Kuzma didn't score, but it didn't matter. And I think most games when the Wizards are playing a decent team and Beal and Kuzma combined for 26, that's a definite loss. So that shows they're starting to score in a more balanced way. And they're getting more from their bench too, which is nice because the bench has been a weakness for the past few years.
Yeah, for sure. Arun, what are some of your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, what Tim said about Jonas Valanciunas being ejected, that was a big loss for the Pelicans. The Pelicans, they blew out the Wizards by 20 points last time, and Valanciunas in that game had 27 points and 12 rebounds. So it was just kind of good that Todd Gibson, I'm glad Gibson's okay, but once he was ejected, that gave the Wizards much better chance. And even this time around, they had Brandon Ingram, and they didn't have him in the last game, and he had 5 turnovers. Beal had 6 turnovers, but I think Gafford was the key for the Wizards winning this game. And Denny with another great game for him, 15 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist. Gafford was unanimously, I think, most people's player of the game, and looks like the Pelicans are going in the wrong direction. The Wizards are starting a win streak, so that's good to see.
Yeah, this Wizards team seems very streaky as well. Like we had some really good moments early on, like, oh, this is the team we were hoping for, and then they fell apart for a while, and now they come back. But all big three played really well tonight. Porzingis with 17 points and 9 rebounds. Denny played great tonight. I did look it up, and Denny was not alive the last time the Wizards have beaten the Spurs in San Antonio. But I think they're moving ultimately in the right direction. And it's funny because I liked Rui a lot, but sometimes you just kind of have to get rid of some players, and addition by subtraction. I just think we had so many people in that position, and I think he might go on to be successful somewhere else, but I just didn't think that he was doing enough, even though obviously the last game he played for us, he showcased what he can do. But in tonight's game, I thought it was great playing all around. The Spurs started off hot. We had a really strong second quarter, as highlighted by Champ in our open. And then, we had a decent third, able to score 35. And our defense really held on in the fourth to make this a blowout. Outscored them almost 30-20. It was 29-19. And, the defense is what made it from a 10-point victory into a blowout. But just overall, I just thought we had a lot of players in double figures, as you can see here. Kendrick Nunn, Morris, Kispert, Beal, Kuzma, and Porzingis. And Denny had his 25 and was MVP of the night. And he had Kendrick Nunn, I just thought, has been playing really efficient basketball, which is what I really like from him. And let's start off with Champ. What are your thoughts about tonight?
I said it last week. It was going to happen. And like Michael Cole said at the WrestleMania where Undertaker lost for the first time ever, the streak is over. 22 previous times that we went to San Antonio, we left there with a big fat L. 1999, I was a senior in high school the last time the Wizards won in San Antonio. I'm now a 40-year-old man and finally got to see the Wizards win in San Antonio, and it was an all-around team effort. It was great to see how well this team was shooting. It was great to see Denny Abdia just go completely off in this one. You got Kristaps Porzingis back, who no one thought he was coming back for another week, but he comes back with 17. Your big three went out and scored very well in this game, but Denny Abdia was the story. 25 points, a career high, and needed one more rebound for yet another double-double on this road trip. You had great production from Kendrick Nunn, who once again is proven to be a great acquisition in the trade for Rui Hachimura. Absolutely just really played well. The Spurs just looked outmatched. Like they looked good in the first quarter, going up by 6 points in the first quarter. But then the Wizards came out in the second quarter, absolutely blew them out the water, and they just couldn't, and the Spurs just could not recover. They could not recover, and it was the Wizards all the way from the second quarter on. And once again, I will say it one more time because I predicted this and it came true. The streak is over. The 22-game losing streak in San Antonio is done.
Yeah, so my dad was actually having some additional stats in chat. He was saying the first time that they've won in the city of San Antonio in 8,451 days. And it was December of 99. And I looked it up. Denny was born January 2001, January 3rd. So just incredible stuff that the guy who carried us past it wasn't even born yet the last time we had done it. But just some really exciting stuff. I'm just happy that it's over. And San Antonio is a place of my heart because that's where I actually got married. But I'm just happy that the Wizards were able to get some luck finally down there as well. Tim, what are your thoughts? Oh, wait, already get your thoughts on this?
Sort of. I'll just add real quick. I think it's great that the Wizards swept Texas because I don't know. I mean, they've probably done it before, but that's rare because those teams are usually good, and it's not easy to win all three.
Well, if the stat holds true, we haven't swept in Texas since at least 99.
Yeah.
So it's probably even longer than that. So,
probably 70s or something crazy.
Yeah. So, that'd be a good stat to find out. Arun, what are some of your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, Porzingis was great. He had 17 points, 5 blocks, 7 assists, 3 steals. He almost had like 5 in every single category. but Denny, with the key game off the bench, he only missed 2 shots, but had 25 points. I think the Wizards defense has gotten really a lot better since they traded Rui. Like in the second and fourth quarter, where primarily the defense plays, like the Wizards only give them 19 points in each of those quarters. Granted, the Spurs bench might not be that good. Like Stanley Johnson, especially, kind of like didn't really help the Spurs that much in this game. But I think the Wizards, it was good that they actually won the first time since 1999. Juwan Howard, the great Juwan Howard, and I think it was like Austin and who they traded for Ben Wallace, unfortunately, and like David Robinson was also watching the game. Greg Popovich is still the coach of the Spurs from back then. The last time the Spurs lost that game, the Spurs went on to win the championship. So it's pretty funny that that not so great Wizards team beat the Spurs, but I don't think this Spurs team is going to win the title. They were pretty bad, and except for their starters, their bench was kind of bad. So um, they're playing the tank game. They're probably going to try to get Victor Wembanyama, but it looks like the Wizards are not playing the tanking game. And I think the record right now, since Bradley Beal and Wright are in the lineup, they're like 11-2. And one of those losses came when actually Beal got injured in the Milwaukee game. So actually like 11-1. So it's, if the Wizards can stay healthy, maybe they can make a playoff push. But I don't think we'll see that they can actually make a deep playoff run out. They have a lot more to prove to show that.
Yeah, it's be interesting to see how this upcoming week goes. Indubitably Brandon is joined us in chat. He's a Twitch music streamer, and he also is a big fan of the Capitals. But he's saying he's too late to share in the pain of Caps talk from this week. That's true. Only one game this upcoming week. That's cool. He's got a Maryland flag emote. Let's take a quick look at the week ahead. We got the Pistons on Wednesday, February 1st at 7. The Trailblazers, that game is in Detroit. And then the Trailblazers come to town on Friday. It's a 7 o'clock start. And then we've got a back-to-back. This one we have to go up to New Jersey. Not New Jersey, I'm sorry, Brooklyn. And at 6 o'clock start for that one. So it's less than 24 hours later. The schedule does not do us many favors. And then we have a day off, and then back to Washington. And the Cavaliers come to town at 7 o'clock, and we'll be doing a post-game of that game, as well as talking about the other 3 games in an abbreviated Wizards talk segment next week. And we're going to kind of condense the whole show down to 90 minutes. But some exciting games, lots of games in a very short period of time, especially the Friday, Saturday, Monday game. But have a couple of days off here, or a day off after tonight's game before that Pistons game. But Champ, what are your thoughts on the Pistons and the Trailblazers games coming up?
I think that the Pistons and Trailblazers games are winnable games. Both teams are not playing up to the potential that they could, especially the Trailblazers playing in the tough Western Conference. Detroit, I mean, their lone shine star right now is Bojan Bogdanovic, who's averaging over 21 points a game. So that's someone you have to keep an eye on. And then when you look at the Trailblazers, I mean, Dame Dollar is just someone you definitely have to keep a lock on. He's averaging 30 points per game for the Trailblazers. And so those are 2 winnable games, especially with the Trailblazers having to come cross country to DC in order to play this game. So those 2 games are winnable games, in my opinion.
Yeah. Tim, those 2 games, what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I think the Wizards can keep it going. Also, Friday should be a pretty packed house because there's a Ja Rule Rick Ross concert after. So,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, there's going to be some extra fans, hopefully.
Yeah, I love it when they do that. They do have a Friday night concert series. I've only stayed for a couple times, but it is kind of cool if people want to go check out. It should be a great game between the Trailblazers and the Wizards, and your ticket gets you to see a concert afterwards. So if you've got some time, and want to do a late night on a Friday night, that is kind of cool. I hope that that brings in some, and it has brought in some hype in the past on Friday games. Arun, I think you and I went to a Friday game that we had a concert earlier this year.
Yeah, there's some people from Blackstreet, I think. Well, we didn't
I
stay
don't
after.
people didn't stay, but it still brought some hype, I think.
Yeah, lots of Miami fans, I guess, showed up for that game. Maybe they went to party afterwards.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely a fun time. I think the Ja Rule concert could be interesting.
Yeah, sounds good. What are your thoughts on these two matchups?
Detroit, the Wizards, I think they should win, but you never know. Like it's kind of like the Wizards just can't expect to win, but it's a game they should win. And then the Trailblazers, Dame Lillard is on fire. He had 60 points last week. The Wizards are, I think they have a little bit more depth than the Blazers, but they definitely have some key scorers. And I think the first game back at home, the Wizards should be favored. And the Blazers are kind of playing better. They're beating the Hawks right now, but I think the Wizards' first game back from a long road trip, I think the Wizards should be favored.
Yeah. All right, let's get into this Nets game next. It's always tough to have these double headers or these back games where they have to travel in less than 24 hours to prepare for it. So it should be a relatively difficult, just because they've been back to back. But the Nets have kind of been up and down recently in some of these recent games. They were able to beat the Lakers tonight, and they were able to beat the Knicks, but they lost to the Pistons, who we thought that they should beat, right? And then they also lost to the 76ers last week. But we'll start off with Tim. What are your thoughts about having to play less than 24 hours later?
This is going to be tough because it's the back-to-back on the road, and the Nets have played the Wizards pretty well this year. So I think this is probably the toughest game of the week. I think Durant's still out, so he might not play. That will help the Wizards, but I would probably pick the Nets in this game.
Yeah. Champ, what are your thoughts on this back-to-back?
So a quick correction, like the Trailblazers will actually already be close to the Eastern Standard Time because they're playing Memphis 2 days prior. So they're not going to be coming cross country, but it still is a winnable game. But I look at this matchup with the Nets, and this is going to be one that I don't think is very much winnable because of the fact they're coming off a back-to-back. Please, guys, don't go and watch Ja Rule and Ricky Rose perform. Just get out of town, get ready to go travel to Brooklyn and go handle your business. But I think this is going to be a tough one to play. Brooklyn is playing very well. They're currently fourth in the Eastern Conference. Kyrie Irving's playing well, no matter how controversial he is. The man gets it done on the court. And I mean, it's going to be a tough one. I don't see a win here, but I will be pleasantly surprised if they did pull out a W coming off a back-to-back after the Trailblazers game and then having to travel to Brooklyn.
Yeah. So I was looking up ahead. They're going to start to do some bobblehead nights to try to generate more interest in Wizards games coming up. It might look pretty good. I know that the Saturday, February 11th game coming up is going to be the first one for that against the Pacers, but we'll preview that one next week. But I think this is going to be a really tough turnaround for the Wizards. Arun, any thoughts on the Nets?
Yeah, I think they're kind of beatable without Durant because they have beaten a couple of teams like the Knicks and the Lakers, but they also lost to the Pistons recently. And also, the Wizards on back-to-back are 6-3. And then also, I think the Wizards might want to play. They did play the Nets tougher last time. They almost won, and Kevin Durant was healthy. If Durant's playing, I think this is a loss. But if Durant isn't playing, they have a good chance of a win.
Yeah. So Durant didn't play tonight, but they were able to crush the Lakers. Is that right?
Yeah, but LeBron James and Anthony Davidson play. And actually, 3 former Wizards started. Rui, Troy Brown Jr., and Thomas Bryant, and Russell Westbrook came off the bench. So that's probably why they lost one.
Wizards have to keep trading with them. That's the key.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. All right. The last game we'll talk about is the game that we will be talking about live next week throughout the podcast. It will probably be a post game by the time we get to it. It'll probably just be ending. It's the Cleveland Cavaliers, who recently have lost to the Thunder, but they beat the Rockets. They lost to the Knicks in a very close game last Tuesday before that, but actually were able to beat the Bucks the previous Saturday. And then they were able to beat the Clippers 122-99 yesterday, and they play a lot of games. They play the Heat, Grizzlies, Pacers before they play us next week. Tim, what are your thoughts on playing the Cavs next week on the show?
I think this will be another tough game. Cavs are a playoff quality team. I do think it's winnable. The Wizards will be at home, so I think it's probably a coin toss game, but with the Wizards playing better. But yeah, it's gonna be tough. The Cavs have a lot of scoring. They were good last year. They're even better this year. So Wizards have to bring their best game. But I mean, they're on this win streak, so maybe with their new healthy lineup, they're capable of winning a game like this.
Yeah, Champ, what are your thoughts?
I agree with Tim. I mean, you're starting to get healthy. You got Kristaps Porzingis back. Hopefully, with this new upcoming stretch, Daniel Gafford will be back from his illness, and you'll have Beal and you'll have Kuz. So you'll have your big three. Danny Avdia's clearly starting to really pick it up, having at least 3 double-doubles in this last 5 games on the road. So I think that you can really make some noise here, especially at home against a very tough Cavaliers team. Donovan Mitchell has been playing pretty well, averaging almost 28 points a game so far this season. I honestly feel like this is a pretty winnable game if everything clicks. But if somewhere along the lines, especially if they lose to Brooklyn on the road off of back-to-back, they lose that momentum, this could be one of those games where it could come back and kill them really badly. So I think that they can pull out the W here to finish the week 3-1. The lone loss will most likely be to the Brooklyn Nets, but I think they win the other 3 this week to continue a very good streak.
All right. Arun, what are your final thoughts on the Cavaliers game?
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be a little bit tougher than the Nets game. Just if the Cavs are actually getting healthy now, like they didn't have Jared Allen and Darius Garland, who were both All-Stars like last year, and now they didn't have Donovan Mitchell, and now they're getting them back. They were beating the Clippers by 40 points at one point a couple of days ago, so I think this should be a really good game. The Wizards only loss with the healthy Beal and Wright had been to the Cavs. It was an overtime game. But I think the Cavs, I don't know, this should be a really good basketball game. And kind of with Tim, it's like a 50-50 game. I think I have the Cavs as a slight favorite, but if the Wizards can win this game against the Cavs and anything, maybe they can make an even deeper run up the standings because the Cavs are like a 4 or 5 seed in the Eastern Conference, and maybe the Wizards can make a push up. But I think Cleveland, with their pieces back, I think on paper they're the better team.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone for tuning in for Wizards Talk, and people for joining in the conversation here on Twitch. I think we've broken down all of the Wizards and all of the NFL stuff and the Caps for this upcoming week. It'll be, again, I talked about it before, a shorter show next week. For the first 30 to 40 minutes, we'll be talking Capitals, just one game and a little bit of the skills competition. And maybe we'll get it all in the 30 minutes, and then we'll go right into Wizards, and we'll break down an exciting week for them, as well as the live game, and then a post-game live for that. It should be a fun show, and then hopefully we can actually raid into the sandwich show, which our friend Andy Primordial Sounds will be on Davey eating a sandwich, which might be our raid target tonight. But I'm gonna let Champ give a little bit of a shout out for the No Spots podcast, and then I will let Arun and Tim give their final thoughts as well.
All right. So this coming Friday, we're back again on Friday for the wrestling podcast, where we will recap this past Saturday's Royal Rumble pay-per-view / premium live event, which saw two new number one contenders for championships be crowned in the Royal Rumble matches themselves. And we will preview NXT's first pay-per-view of the year and their first pay-per-view on the road since WrestleMania last year with Vengeance Day, which we'll see a couple championships on the line as well. So we will preview that as well. And then on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod, myself and Sip will be live reacting to NXT Vengeance Day this coming Saturday night, beginning at around 7:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you to everybody who joined us for the Royal Rumble live reactions. Myself, Sith, as we went into Sith's birthday, Sage, and then later on, Donnie Wrestling all joined, and we had a blast. We all got pretty tipsy, and it was a good time had by all. So great. Thank you for everybody joining us. So make sure you check us out, twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod. Podcast audio goes up on our podcasting platforms, or you can check out the SportsOTHP.com, clicking the podcast partners button to check out the audio for this and previous episodes of the podcast.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun over there. I definitely was hearing some good things. Who won the Royal Rumble? I didn't actually get a chance to watch it.
So Cody Rhodes won the men's Royal Rumble, coming in at number 30. And but Walter, who's now known as Gunter, set a new record for the length of time in the Royal Rumble at over 1 hour and 11 minutes. And Rhea Ripley became the first woman to go wire to wire at number 1 and win for the women. And she already made her choice tonight on Raw. If you haven't watched Raw, sorry for the spoiler, but she's already made her choice. She's going after Charlotte Flair in the SmackDown Women's Championship. Cody's automatically going after Roman Reigns because he holds both the WWE and Universal Championships. So that's already set for WrestleMania as well. So, but those are the two winners of the Royal Rumble, and it was a fun show to watch.
That's awesome. Well, great. Well, I hope people go check out Champ is a great mod over here, and if you're into wrestling, you should definitely check out the No Spots podcast. I put the link in the Twitch chat. I'm gonna let Arun give his final thoughts on anything he wants to talk about right now.
Yeah, shout out to, I guess, Carson Wentz backups. Now Hurts joins Nick Foles as being the two backups that made it to the Super Bowl. And Heineke, I guess, is the only quarterback so far that's been Jalen Hurts in so far this season. So shout out to another Carson Wentz backup.
Nice. All right. Well, Arun, thank you so much for joining us tonight, as always. And we'll talk to you maybe next week for our Wizards talk.
Sure. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Tim, any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, I'm just happy that we had a great show tonight. It was a lot of fun, and I think I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, that'd be great. I look forward to having you back on this show then. And and I think with this, we will end episode 297, at least the audio side and the side over on Facebook. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, it's DC Sports Without the Politics, Sports on the Hill podcast.
No quequeño, sayonara.
I think we have stopped
recording
streaming,
stopped.
and we're stopped on that side. So I appreciate everyone for joining us live over on Twitch as well, for being a part of this. It's obviously another fun podcast. I really enjoyed recording it with all the gang, and episode 298 will be a short one next week. Hopefully we'll be able to get to raid into the sandwich show. I'm tuning to see here if the sandwich show is still going on. If it is, we might raid in as well. Right there, it is still going on. So let's just see what Davey is up to. But yeah, I'm excited. Champ, anything else you want to plug before we head over and do a raid?
Not really. Like I said, you can check us out if you're into professional wrestling and want to hear a couple of longtime professional wrestling fans talk wrestling as fans and not as insiders or as media. You can check us out at twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod, and you can just search us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts, the No Spots Podcast, and you'll get all the wrestling you want from a fan's perspective and not a media or insider's perspective.
Yeah, indubitably, Brandon asks, does the reverse retro give anyone else PTSD, or did everyone like it? So I'm just going to ask you real quick. You're talking about the black jersey, or you're talking about the stadium jersey? Because I actually really liked the black jersey a ton. I ended up getting a Wilson one. The stadium series jersey, I guess it's not everybody's favorite, and it's a lot of white for a lot of people, but it's supposed to be these big graphics, and so you can see it from far away. So I like the white jerseys too. I definitely like the black ones more, just because I like the Screaming Eagle, I think, more than I like the Weagle. But I mean, I've always wanted the Weagle to have a front jersey placement before, and we've never had it before. You see the black jersey with the side view of the old black and gold. I understand that time period wasn't great for the Cats, although it wasn't bad either, because I'm trying to remember in the cup run in 98, obviously we wore the white one at home. But I think we were pretty good back then. But I love that sleek look. And they actually wore it on my birthday game a couple weeks back, and I had a blast at that game. And I wore black, and they won. And they won almost all the games they wore with the black jersey. And Ovi says that he really likes it, and he scored a goal, I believe, in every game that he wore the black jersey this season. So if he likes it, I'm going with it. Yeah. So I'm definitely a big fan. I don't love the Stadium Series jersey, but it is in line with what everything else you're sort of seeing with that one. But that's a good question. But yeah, in fact, last week we raided into the sandwich show, and Brandon was the guest of that, and we felt that we have both of the love of the Capitals, and so that's really cool. And I'll do a who is, if people want to know more about Brandon here. But yeah, it was definitely cool. Let's in fact go over and raid our friend Davey again, and I don't want to jinx it, but I'm hoping to rate him 3 weeks in a row, which is maybe a record for this channel. But I'm a big fan of the sandwich show over there. I, in fact, made his Pac-Man eating sandwich emote. I've been friends with Davey for a long time. But yes, that's a good point. We didn't talk about Bobby Hull in our hockey segment. So rest in peace to him, the all-time leading scorer of the Blackhawks and one of the great NHL players of all time. Let's go for the hat trick rabbit. Yeah, let's do it. We're not going to jinx it, so we're not going to mention the hat trick for next week. But I will. We'll definitely do a raid right now. I'll do a who is for those who don't know who Davey is. Yeah, I hope that you guys are all able to join me over on to Davey's Eating a Sandwich. He's got a great guest on tonight, the wife of the Brookstone Bards, and so that should be a lot of fun. Let me do the raid and the sub raid, and people, well, thank you so much. And if you ever want to come on and talk hockey with me, feel free to whisper me, Brandon, and I can get you in our hockey segment. It's usually at about 9 o'clock to 9:45 Eastern. Yeah, it's a lot of fun over there for sure. And Champ, thank you for being a part of this team for so many years. I appreciate you. And let's raid over, and I'll see you on the other side. Have a great week, everybody. All right, bud. Thank you so much.
No problem, brother. Have a good one.
You as well.